or envelope flaps, your chances, you're going to jail.
We immediately said that we wanted to do it if it was something that would finally help shed some light on the whole thing. No problem with it at all.
The cost of the DNA testing, approximately $7,000, would have to be paid by Paula Noraki. Blood samples from both Paula and her husband were sent to a local DNA lab, along with the threatening letters and the envelopes.
The amount of DNA that would wind up on the back of a stamp or an envelope flap depends on how hard you lick the envelope, how much cells that you shed from the inside of your mouth. There are variables that it's hard to predict exactly what the value would be, but it is there. In some cases, there's more DNA than others.
First, scientists use steam to gently remove the stamps from the envelopes. The back of each stamp and envelope flap was swabbed for epithelial cells, which come from saliva. DNA was found on the back of one set of stamps and on one envelope flap. The number of cells recovered was so small that forensic scientists performed a process called polymerase chain reaction, or PCR, which amplifies or copies the DNA in those few cells to make enough for testing. The DNA from the stamps and envelope flap were added to the PCR mixture, a chemical cocktail of enzymes, nucleotides, and primers, then placed in a thermal cycler to amplify. A colored development process produces a series of blue dots, visualizing which variation of the DQ alpha gene is present in the genetic profile. If there is even one base difference in the 3.3 billion base pairs on an individual's DNA strand, the DNA will not bind to the corresponding dot.
What we're looking for to see is how does this DNA that we've extracted compare to somebody else's DNA. Now, if the DNA is from a similar source, you'll get the same pattern of blue dots on a white strip.
This is the genetic profile of the individual who licked the stamps. When the DNA profile of Paula Noraki and her husband were compared to the DNA from the back of the stamps, there was no match.
For example, Paula Noraki has 2 dots here, and the DNA from the back of the postage stamp only has 1. So therefore, right away, we can exclude Paula Noraki with just this one genetic marker. We looked at 5 different genetic markers, and at 4 out of 5 can exclude Paula Noraki.
DNA was found, and it did not match Paula, and it did not match Len Noraki, which meant that someone licked those stamps, and it wasn't Len or Paul.
We thought it was going to blow apart the whole case. We thought we were done.
Now, armed with the DNA profile of the stalker, the manhunt had just begun.